Jayme, you've been there, I think, for a few days now, a few long days. What strikes you? What are you seeing and hearing that really stands out?
Well, I think for me, it is how the protesters here in the camp are getting more and more organized by really the hour. I was just at the gate of the encampment where all the tents are. It's actually fenced off. You can't get in. And they say that that's because of security. They're actually turning away people who are bringing blankets because they say that they have enough. They're collecting food, and there's a first aid station. They're serving meals. They're also starting to run programming. So I heard some of the organizers talk about how they're going to be doing media training tomorrow to learn more about how to speak to journalists. They're working on their demands, and it just seems like they're getting more and more dug in as time goes on.
Okay, so they're clearly a lot more organized, but are they crystallizing what it is they want?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly seem to be. So the big ask here is divestment. So I've spoken to students from Concordia and McGill, and generally what they're asking for is for both universities to take their money out of companies that contribute to the war in Gaza or to the continuing, they say, occupation of Palestinians. So let me give you an example. For McGill, Lockheed Martin, the weapons manufacturer, is on their list. And so is RBC, that they say has a stake in a company that provides technology that they say is used by Israel to surveil Palestinians. So really, the divestment ask is the big ask here. And the students are saying that they will not leave until the universities divest, not until they promise to talk about divesting, until they actually divest.
And how does McGill respond to that?
Right. So McGill essentially is saying that there are processes to do this, and that camping out on the front lawn is not the way to do this, and that they need to use proper channels. I should say that when you talk to the protesters about this, they say that calls this kind of divestment campaign, it's not new, and that they have been calling on the universities to divest from companies connected to Israel for years, and that they haven't done anything. So this is in some ways the culmination of many years of activism for them.
Okay, so the protesters, I mean, clearly they're hunkered down. A judge has rejected the injunction against them. From your descriptions, they're in pretty good spirits, but they must have been watching those striking images of police clashing with protesters all over the United States. What effect did that have on the protesters where you are?
Yeah, so they were definitely watching last night when police moved into Columbia, and I did get the sense, speaking from some of them, that they were quite jarred by the police presence. I heard some protesters talk about how disappointed they were in the university that they would have called in that many police. They are also talking about the clashes between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian protesters at UCLA. That pro-Palestinian camp was attacked by pro-Israel protesters. And so they're talking about guidelines that they have to not interact with counter-protesters. And they won't comment on conversations that they may or may not be having around what they may or may not do if police come in.
So, Jayme, there have been claims, including from McGill University, that some protesters have made anti-Semitic remarks. Can we talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, please. So one video that has been drawing a lot of attention is a video that was released by McGill University to the media. And it actually shows a group of pro-Palestinian protesters yelling and chanting at a group of Israeli protesters. And they say things like, "Go back to Europe," and "all the Zionists are racist." And I have spoken to some of the protesters in the encampment about that. And they say that they don't recognize the pro-Palestinian protesters and that they are not part of the encampment. I will say that some of those protesters in the video are wearing masks, so it is hard to be able to verify that. Also, there are a lot of conversations happening in the camp right now around anti-Semitism. I talked to some Jewish students who are protesting in the pro-Palestinian camp, and they are leading seminars on anti-Semitism. So those are ongoing conversations that are happening all the time, the students here say.
One last thought for you. There are obviously echoes of what you're experiencing and seeing on campuses across North America. Not all of them are ending up with courts and arrests and clashes.
Yeah, so this is really interesting. Brown University in Rhode Island actually made a deal with the students, and they dismantled their tents. And in exchange for that, they're going to bring a divestment proposal to their board, and they're going to vote on it. So I've talked to the protesters here about what happened at Brown, and they're buoyed by it. They think that it's positive, but they're actually saying, just to reiterate, that they are not going to leave right now until McGill actually divests, not if they bring it to, not if they promise to maybe bring something to a vote. So I'm not sure kind of where those negotiations are with McGill or Concordia right now, and where they possibly could go in the future. But it's interesting to note that not all outcomes here have ended in violence and police intervention.
All right, Jayme Poisson, thanks for this.
Thanks, Adrienne.